Let me just share.
Sounds good. It's getting lighter on the evenings. When I walked the dogs tonight, it was still light. I was like, oh, I love it. Summer is on its way. Spring is on its way.
It is.
Can't wait.
And it needs to be. I've been out a lot today and it's been so cold.
Yeah, it's not fun, is it? Was that the Valentine's event? Oh, sorry, go on.
Oh, yeah. Oh, what, on Sunday that you went to?
On Sunday, yeah. And I was thinking, oh, my goodness me, it's going to be really cold. I'm not sure how many people are going to come. But actually, it was quite nice. It'd been raining and drizzly the days before. But when we got there on the day, it was really lovely. And it was cold, but it was nice. And it stayed dry. And it was a really lovely event. I really enjoyed it. So it was great. But it was one of those where you're thinking, oh, it's so cold. Is it all going to be okay? But it was.
Right, okay, I'm just trying to, it's so long since I've done this. Just trying to remember how I do. Right, I've copied the link. Right. There we go.
See the link on mine, paste it into yours, and you'll be good to go.
I normally host, so it's completely right. Okay, let's crack on. These poor people.
Okay.
They need to hear about our woes.
Right, all sorted. Okay, so welcome everyone. So if you don't know who we are, my name's Claire. I run Insight Hounds. So Insight Hounds, I work with all sight hounds, and I specialise with ex-racing greyhounds. So I work with them. I'm based in the Midlands, about 10 minutes from the NEC, and I run classes there, but I also work with dogs all over the country, or sight hounds all over the country online. So,
I'm Sarah, working Berkshire dog training in Berkshire, the county. And I work with puppies from 8 weeks old upwards in various different training needs and life skills. And Claire and I, for those that may not remember, actually met many years ago when we qualified with IMDT, didn't we? And so, we thought we'd join together and do these lives. And enrichment has always been one of our passions, isn't it, Claire? And I think if you remember, it was one of our first ones, wasn't it?
It was. All of those years ago now. It's making us feel.
You think, the subject is there's still stuff that we're curious about, isn't it? Which is why we wanted to make the year of it. So, we're focusing on one particular aspect today. But just briefly, should we just go through a little bit of highlighting what we covered in the first one, just for a minute or two, and then we can deep dive into the nose work.
Yeah, definitely. Great idea. So, I've promoted this as part 2, but really, if you're doing this as a standalone, it's not a problem. But in part 1, we sort of discussed about why enrichment is important, and enrichment is tapping into the dog's natural instincts. We referenced that it's a bit like it came back from zoos originally. So if you think about kind of a penguin enclosure in a zoo, you don't see penguins sitting in a desert setting. It's all designed to be right for that particular penguin, to tap into their natural instincts, to the environment that they would have in the wild. So it's helping them with feeling good and living their best life while in those sort of in captive situations. And really, dogs have a lot of natural instincts. And I think sometimes as humans, we go, oh, they need to have their walks and they need to do this. But enrichment is very much tapping. Walks are part of that, but it's tapping into some of those other areas that are naturally reinforcing and instinctive for our dogs to do.
Exactly. Well, I couldn't have said it any better.
Oh, that was good. I was ready for you to sort of carry on with
No,
40 minutes in one sentence. There we go.
No, exactly. No, yeah. So we're talking about physical and mental enrichment, and today we're going to talk about our dogs' noses, aren't we? Which
we are.
Your hounds, they love using their noses, don't they?
Oh, it's something, scent work is something so passionate about. It's just a dog's sense of smell, I think, is one of the most underestimated senses that they have. I mean, just a dog can smell half a teaspoon of sugar in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. when they're out and about and sniffing all the time, they can detect kind of if they find another dog, they can detect kind of how that dog is, if they're healthy, what they've eaten, what sex they are, what's going on in their world. There's a huge amount of information, and the dog sense of smell is incredible. They can also smell while still breathing in and out, which is huge. We can only breathe in and smell. We can't breathe out and sort of taking sense at the same time. And their capacity of what they can do with their sense of smell is just absolutely fabulous. And because as humans, we haven't got that same sensory experience. I think as humans, we can often underestimate how important it is for our dog's well-being and how good it is for them, and what a big part of how they see the world. It's a really big factor in how they see the world. So that's something that we're talking about today. And the other thing I love about scent work is I use it with kind of dogs that are nervous, dogs that are sort of lacking experience in learning. So a lot of the ex-racing greyhounds, not some of the ex-racing greyhounds I work with, they come from a situation where they've always been told everything. Their life has been very predictable for them, and they're quite institutionalized in that routine. So making decisions or thinking independently is a real challenge for them, and then being able to have the confidence to do some scent work and make some decisions and find good stuff in some of the things we're going to talk about today can really help with their confidence. It's good for bringing in the right hormones, reducing stress. And as I say, I can work with like injured dogs with it. You can work with old dogs. Izzy is particularly fizzy as a greyhound, and it's really good for her. Oscar, who was more nervous, we did some stuff around sort of sound sensitivity and scent work with him, and it was a huge help to him. So it can be used in so many different ways, and it's something I harp on about a lot because I'm such a huge fan, and I've seen so many great results with it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because if you think about, we think about sniffing when we're on our walks, don't we? And we're going to talk about some of the things you can do at home, but also outdoors. But I know I often have conversations with clients about, that process of when we go out and about. We often have our own agenda, don't we? We have a plan A. We're trying to juggle many things, and often the dog's walk is not necessarily for them. It's for us to just get that ticked off the list, isn't it? And the sniffing can, if I look at my two, Manu, he just would sniff. He would more than happy sniff, and for most of his walk. Whereas Poppy, she's air scenting. She's willing, ready to go and find that fluffy tail, whether it's a squirrel or a rabbit. And so for her needs are very different. And so sometimes, we have to split and we take them on different walks, or we go out independently. Or I do work with Poppy and encourage her to sniff on walks and things, because I think there's an element sometimes that, we want our dogs to kind of learn those different experiences, don't we? But when we're challenged with trying to, get our task list done, sniffing can feel more of a burden than a joy when we take our dogs out. And hopefully some of the things we're going to cover today will hopefully, highlight why it's important, but also a little bit about how it can be fun for us as well as for the dogs.
Definitely. We've had a question come in, actually. We've got Emily, who's got a Rhodesian Ridgeback called Moose. Great name.
Love it.
Name, Emily. And she talks about that she's doing some work with she's been doing lots of training with her, and it's really paying off, and it's going really well. She's 11-month-old. They give her chews and toys at home. She chomps through everything quickly and then is done again. So she's asking what kind of enrichment she can do to keep her happy and stimulated at home. So we will be coming on to that towards the tail end of what we're discussing today, Emily. So keep tuning in, and we've got some ideas for you.
Then feel free to ask us again, and we'll come back to you. But hopefully we'll have some answers for you. And oh my God, Ridgebacks, close to my heart. My heart dog was a Ridgeback, so love a hound.
I thought you'd like that one.
So should we go into a bit more detail then, Claire, because I think we're armed and dangerous, aren't we?
Yes. Do you want to kick us off with I think one of my favourite things to do, if we're just talking, you were talking about those walks there, is going on those sniffy walks. I think, again, when I first adopted my dogs, it was very much about a 20-minute walk you know, it's common out there to say for a greyhound they need 2 20-minute walks twice a day, and it was very much take them out and go for this like march around the block for 20 minutes. And kind of once I realised the value in the scent, the value in the sniffy walks, actually sometimes if there's been a lot going on in my dog's world, for various reasons, taking them to sort of a patch of grass where it's longer grass, there's some trees, a bit of a coppice, and there's been wildlife there, and just spending 10 minutes having that sniffy walk in that area where we're not disturbed, it's all quiet, and they really get the Izzy especially can really get a nose in and do it, can be hugely beneficial. Those sniffy walks I think are so valuable. And they're one of my favorite things to do, and something that I'm really real big advocate of. And I had a customer who had like a dog who was she was a fizzy girl as well, shall we say, and I think their habit was to just walk her to try and burn off the energy. And we talked about the sniffy walks with her, and they were saying we've really noticed a difference in her behaviour. Going on these sniffy walks has actually kind of really helped her be calmer and think. And obviously when they're getting that mental stimulation and with the scent work as well, it can really help to tire the dogs out in a positive way. It gets the hormones balances back where we want. It helps them tire them out, and they come back a lot more sort of fulfilled than sometimes when we've just done that physical side of things. Yeah,
I totally agree. And I think it's interesting because I don't know about you, but I've had some clients whose dogs are so overstimulated when they're out and about. Actually, sniffing becomes a real challenge for them because the environment, you know, is just, oh my God, it's their just most favorite place. You know, it's like us on Christmas Day, you know, waiting for that next, you know, whatever excites you, just, you know, look at that and go, wow, okay, this is what our dog's experiencing all the time when they're out and about on their walks. And one of the things, you know, we've talked about snuffle mats, haven't we? Right? So snuffle mats, you might go, well, that's what I do indoors. Yeah. And I think you've got one there, haven't you, Claire?
Oh, I've got a selection. There's one.
On brand colours. I love it.
Of course, you know what I'm like.
So we have a snuffle mat, okay, which is, you know, you expect to put it on the ground, indoors, fill it up with treats. And, you know, key thing is when you start off with a snuffle mat, is just sprinkle, and then you can start hiding them in. If a dog's never experienced anything like this, we need to help them learn. And sometimes it's the same that I found with working with clients is, you know, we expect our dogs to know to sniff when they're stimulated, and they can struggle. So you can use that snuffle mat actually at home to train them and then take it out on walks. So you can either look at making a smaller one, or one of the things that I use is you might see these in Aldi or some of the you know, some shops like Poundland or whatever, and you know, it's a cleaning mat for a car. Right?
Sure, I've had one of those.
It's my blue pizza moment there, isn't it? So here's what I prepared earlier, but it's a little bit more practical because you can fold it up and put it in your pocket, okay, and then you just sprinkle it out, and then you've actually sprinkled the treats on this. But the beauty of something like this is that you can train your dog and cue it at home where the environment is less distracting, and then get ready to take it out and actually use it in increasing distracting environments, but actually get them, once you drop it, to know, oh, this is what I need to do. I see this green, strange looking thing, and I know I go and sniff it. And I think, you know, sometimes we forget that actually maybe we can help our dogs learn to sniff in more distracting environments. I don't know what you think about that, Claire.
I'd never looked at it that way, to be honest. I like it because I've just done it with the kind of sprinkling the treats actually in the natural environment as a training method. I've never thought about actually taking the snuffle mat out. Although saying that, I take them out all the time when I'm doing when I've got stands at places. I tend to take them there, and the dogs that have worked with me in classes, and we've worked and done some stuff on snuffle mats in classes, those dogs will just come to my stand and they're straight. They're like, oh, this is what I do.
Lady with the good treats.
This is it. I know exactly what to do, and they're straight on it and they're all over it. So actually I can see, I'd never thought of it like that in using it in the more natural environment, but I can see how that could work really well.
And do you have a cue? Because I use I mean, I've got my boy sitting on the sofa beside me, so he should be okay. But if I say snuffle, Yeah, his ears have gone up. Really original, right? Snuffle. It's not the most original cue, but one of my many cues I use. But if I say Snuffle, he kind of knows what to do because I've cued it. So whether it is a green fluffy car mat or whether it is in the ground, he knows that's the action that responds to that cue. And again, even that can really help our dogs understand what their job and what they're to do and process is. Okay, now is the time to Snuffle. Okay, great. Maybe you might want to have a slightly faster walk, and then you say, right, Snuffle, this is your time to Snuffle. Okay, now we can then move on and do something else, but kind of give them a cue to help them understand when and what to do.
No, that's great. I like that because again, I've got kind of different cues in place, but not a direct one for Snuffle. So search cues when we're doing like more of the kind of formalised scent work, if you like.
Exactly.
So the UK sniffer dogs scent work that I've done, and when they're searching pipes and bags and that sort of thing. So we cue that very much when they're doing those. But no, I like it, and there's certain searches, but not a Snuffle. No.
Yeah, well, there you go.
That's what my dogs are going to be having a new cue.
Well, mine have got 90, so there you
go.
Blame Simone for that. She says a cue for everything, so I'm a bit OC obsessed with cues, I think, most probably. So on for another live.
I think actually you mentioning Simone there, that would be a good lead in. A link in, Sarah, to who Simone is and a little bit more about what you do with Simone.
Yeah, no, we have to do so. So yeah, a year ago, I graduated as one of 8 of Simone's UK instructors, and I know she's got her next cohort coming through, so that will increase slightly. But yeah, I love what she stands for. I love the games that, you know, and the fun aspects that she has to really, you know, help our dogs display their natural instincts in a safe way. And that really is where the substitute training comes along, because you know, that anything from chase upwards can create risk. So using what they enjoy to do in a safe way is really the ethos of the substitute training. And so you know, when we go for walks, there's always an element of, whether it's, you know, practicing our recall or walking together, there's always an element, or hunting, that we use on a daily basis with Simone. And one of the things that I love, which encourages them to sniff, there's 2 things. One is the sausage tree. So that we will go into.
So you need to tell people what a sausage tree is.
So again, really unoriginal. I shout sausage, and I have to say, people just look at me like I've just maybe opened a butcher's or something. But no, I'll shout sausage. But normally what happens, and I did a video of this, or it might be, I think it's coming up this month, is where I've talked about Poppy's instinct to chase something. Okay, so she gets released to chase because it's safe to do so. There's nothing there for her to do anything, but then she needs to have that outlet to run up a tree. So I literally place treats and sausages in a tree for her to pretend that she's chased the squirrel up the tree, and then she gets to eat and dissect it, which is actually the full circle of her predation behavior. So for that alone, she has to sniff the sausages out. So, you know, it's using all the elements that she needs. And then the other one is in her book called The Walking Together, where you really slow your walks down and you create opportunities for them to sniff when they're walking. So that way the dogs stop rushing forward, because actually they start to anticipate that slower walk because you're walking differently. And also you are stopping to give them what they need, which is that sniffing opportunity. So again, it's a great way to bring in some elements of training, but in a way that absolutely reinforces the behaviours that you want. So yeah, I just love it. And I think Ducky Bird says you're going to meet her in March, aren't you? I'm going to be very jealous.
I'm super excited. I'm off to Wrexham. Unfortunately, I'm not going to meet Ryan Reynolds in Wrexham, and Rob McElhaney, if you've seen Welcome to Wrexham. But I'm going to have some training with her. It's great. I love it. If anyone's watching and they've seen it, they'll get it. If not, don't worry about it. But yes, I'm going to Wrexham to do some training with her in one of her courses. So I'm really excited about that. And the prey drive. yes, you've done it, haven't you? And the prey drive's such a high thing with the sight hounds, obviously. So having more tools.
So I just did it last year, and just so I could give her a hug.
No, I'm really excited, and as I say, if you don't know her, she's from Germany, but she's really breaking grounds in the prey drive side of things, and the sausage tree. You're not actually getting Poppy to climb the whole tree, are you? When you say,
I think she would have a go if she could. Yeah,
but
kind of Poppy. Yeah, she would have a go if she could, but no, she literally just goes up. But she can be running backwards from trees, like searching for that, and I'll shout sausage now because we've repeated it so consistently that she'll just be able to know that is the next part, and she'll just rush to the tree knowing that their food reward is there, and that she'll sniff it out because they're hidden all over the place. Because while she's been running like a loon, I've been up the tree going trying to put the sausages in the tree, and then people are seeing the shout sausage. So no wonder, people are looking at me very strangely. Anyway.
We did some of that when Jack came down from Dorset or up from Dorset, and we did that in the scent workshops then, and it was really good. Steph just said she's using snuffle mats and clamshells when she's out, but she hasn't cued it yet, so that'll be next then. Steph getting cues on the snuffle mat and clamshells.
Absolutely. When you're out. Try and be a bit more original than snuffle.
It works, does the trick.
It does. Right. Should we go and show some other demos of what they can do for nose work?
Yes. So the walks, I think, are really important, as you say. There's lots to do on walks, and they're great tips. Some other ones at home is, as I showed you before, we've got the snuffle mat, and I think there's lots of varieties on snuffle mats as well. So you've got the snuffle ball. I've got a little one here. Yours is massive, massive. But you can hide the treats, and I do like the snuffle balls. I do kind of like the rolling.
We're both on brand, though, aren't we? I'm blue and you're pink. God.
And then you'll love this even more stuff on brand. I got this, I think it was at Edition last year.
Okay.
And Freddie in particular, like my little whippet, my little rescue whippet, he loves getting his nose in here. So it's kind of a similar style, but actually sort of foraging into these little gaps where you can hide treats in between the creases of fleece is really, really good. Obviously, with all of these things that we're showing you, just supervise your dogs if they're sort that are going to eat fleece. They obviously, I wouldn't recommend this or monitoring. The other thing, this is not so much on brand, it's orange, but you can buy all the really expensive kit, as we do, because we're dog trainers and we're slightly obsessed and we love it, so we end up getting a lot of kit. But you can just do this with kind of like a basic tea towel and kind of hiding treats in amongst a tea towel and letting the dogs find them. I did have a customer I was talking to this about last week, and they're like, my dog's really struggling to get it, and that can be really common with, again, especially it was an ex-racing greyhound, and when they've come from an environment where they've never had to sort of think or do this sort of thing, and everything's sort of been very predictable and not done, they really, really struggled. And sometimes, especially with the sight hounds, you have to make it really very easy for them to begin with. So literally, to begin with it with the tea towel, you'd be putting the treats just on top of it and doing that for the first few times. So they just go in and go, oh, that's where the treat is, that's where the treat is. And then you can start to sort of over time bury them, but have them sticking out so they're not going deep within, and build it up from there. As I say, the sight hounds, there's a certain way of training them, and if you make it really complicated really quickly, with many of them, you're just going to lose them. They're just going to go, no, I'm not doing that. So starting really nicely and easily is the way to go. And then once you get really good, you can make one of those fancy, if ever you've been to one of those fancy hotels where they have like a swan or something, you can start doing that and hiding your bits of treats in there.
I'm not doing a live on how to create a swan and a hotel there. Sorry, I'm over
to you, Sarah.
Well, I tell you what, here I've prepared a snail.
Hey!
See, I don't have to do a fancy square. I can do a square and buy a snail right online, which is exactly what you're talking about. Okay, this is my snail, and the purpose is that the dogs will unwrap it, and then there's holes, you see, for the treats to go in. But when we got this for the dogs for Christmas, what we ended up doing exactly that, we held it out lengthways, and then we just put the treats on top, and then we started to hide them to the point now that we can actually roll it up, because the dogs had never had to unravel something to get a treat because they're in a mat, a snuffle mat or a ball. So they've got that tendency, or our famous box. Yeah.
Yes, we love a box.
We love a box. And, you know, Emily, you were saying about your dog destroying things. Okay. So, you know, in here, I've got paper bags. Okay. And inside the paper bags, I will put treats. So to make the box even more interesting, I will put egg boxes in it, and I put toilet rolls, which Claire has already talked about. So within the box, there's more things that they can get out and which creates duration of time for them actually dissecting the box. Now this is a very small one, and obviously with your Ridgeback you could actually go big, you could go massive to get them into it. I've also got Dachshund size as well.
And everything in between.
Exactly. My fridge is just ridiculous. It really is. Never throw a toilet roll away again. But yeah, you can create these environments for dogs at home using just some basic, you know, cardboard material, and start to make it more complex for them and put multiple things in there. And even the lid on the box can be the challenge. First step is actually getting the lid off the box that you can train them to do.
Yeah, it's great. So I think with the toilet rolls, we hadn't kind of gone into detail, but getting an old toilet roll innards, again, we don't want to do this with the dogs that are going to eat it, but if they don't, getting a toilet roll, and you'd start with just a treat in it, and then you can start folding the ends in, so the dogs need to sort of undo it and get the treats out, and kitchen roll innards, and yeah, we do it with egg boxes, all sorts of things, really. And the dogs just love they love ripping it apart. We had, and again, different dogs are different with it. Our Oscar would never rip anything apart. He was so delicate and he was so considered. And you'd play the box game with him. And to begin with, it was one box with one treat with all the sides open. And then eventually we built it up with the brown paper. We used a lot of Amazon boxes and things like that, because they've got they're not too you need to be mindful of the ink and that sort of things on them, especially if they're ripping them apart. So the Amazon boxes are that quite plain box. So we'd start, and Oscar was always so delicate, and he'd remove the paper very nicely, whereas Iz will get in there and she'll just rip the whole box apart and start throwing bits all over and do my recycling for me. She put, you know, I'm not very good at folding down the boxes, so I just give it Izzy and she sorts that out for me now and rips it all apart.
If only they can take it to the bin as well, eh?
Next training session, we'll get that on the go.
Exactly.
That's really good. You can start to build up the complexities, as you say, but the key things is starting really, really easy, because the dogs, so many of them get bored and they don't know what to do with it, and they just go, no, that's too hard, and walk away. So.
And then you get, you know, you like you say, you can spend money on stuff. I mean, I know I've bought them. I know clients have bought them. The puzzle toys, and you get grades of puzzle toys. Okay, so all of this is mental stimulation using their nose and their, you know, their brain waves to actually work out what to do. But often those DMs can be too easy, and they can work it out quite quickly. So one of the things you can try before you buy is the old muffin tin, right? So I've got I better not squeak because Poppy will come down, but anyway, there we go.
So you just set off every dog watching.
Exactly. So we've got squeaky toys. I've got different textures of balls as well. That one's softer. It's harder ones. I couldn't find them.
Just hold it up a bit for us, Sarah. Just go a bit higher. That's it.
I've got really, really hard ones. So again, they've got to process the different textures when they're actually opening it and pulling them out. And basically what we do is we put treats in the muffins here, okay? And then they start to take the balls out. Now, I would only start with one ball and treats in the tray. Just so they get used to the ball being in the tray, and then just getting treats, because again, this is metal. If they move it on a wooden floor, it can make a noise which might spook them. So make sure you've got a carpet or a rug underneath it so it doesn't spook them, and just getting them used to that one ball underneath the treat, and then you can build up to make it more complex. That's how I would do it. I don't know if you would add anything else, Claire.
No, I've got the same kit, and I've got pink balls. course. So, but yeah, I've got the muffin tin, but I like all of mine are tennis balls.
Okay.
So actually, I really like the idea of kind of like the different textures of balls within there, because I hadn't considered doing that. And I think again, it just adds another element of something different for the dogs. And like you say, there's different textures. I know different dogs like to
because you get spiky balls and hard balls and softer balls and everything else. So just pop down to your pound shop, whatever that's nearest. That's the best way of doing it. And you'd be surprised what you find.
Yeah, no, that's great idea. I'm getting
there we go.
great
Valentine sorted. Can I have some spiky balls, please?
Oh no, that's great.
But I think Emily's very kindly has said thank you. Great idea for some of the ideas. So if there's anything else you want to know, Emily, please reach out and let us know. But
definitely.
I think that was most of our ideas. I think we've covered everything we were going to cover.
Yes, I think they were the key ones that we wanted to cover today. So as part of our kind of enrichment conversations, which we're going to be having throughout the year, we were going to cover different types of enrichment, but we wanted to just touch on the nosework side of things today. Obviously, with the nosework side of things, I do sort of more, there's the different types of nosework we've talked about very much from an enrichment point of view, looking at the games, if you like. But with enrichment, there's kind of the trailing that you've done in the past as well, isn't there?
The
tracking, sorry, and then the man trailing are options, and then the formal scent work, which is kind of working to find things. I know some of my people in my class, we search for red congs and food in pipes and bags, and in round vehicles and things like that. So there's different types of scent work you can do, but I'm a huge fan of the scent work. It's really, really good for the dogs and the well-being. And you really enjoyed the tracking course you did, didn't you?
I did, that was coming up for a year ago as well with Mr. Mann. And I've done quite a bit with my own dogs. And if it's appropriate, I will introduce it with clients. It will depend on what we're trying to achieve, but it really is such an outlet for them. It's but you need quite a bit of space to do it. So that's one of the biggest challenges. For puppies, I create little tracking squares, and that can be a lot of fun. So
Oh, great. That sounds
so we have our plan, don't we? But we have we've got our next live next month.
We have, which is on the 3rd of March, and we've got a guest on that one. So we've got the Pet Blood Bank, which I'm really excited about having the Pet Blood Bank on board, because I did some donations with my dogs. I haven't done it with Izzy because she's too small, but have with previous dogs, and a lot of my customers have got, a lot of my members, their dogs give blood, and it's something I think is just amazing. And particularly some of the sight hounds have a special type of blood. We'll go into it more then, that can be really beneficial to help dogs that need it or in need when they're at the vets. So we're really excited about our next guest and talking about that one.
Yeah, because we raised, when I was at the dog show a couple of years ago with my local vets that I work with, we raised money for the Pet Blood Bank then. But I must admit, I haven't had any dog donate before. So I'm really excited to learn a little bit more through our conversation, understand what is required and how it helps. Because as a human blood donator, I love it when I get my text messages going, "Your blood has just gone to Manchester Hospital," or something like that. I get and go, okay, I'm on a little holiday. So I'm curious to see if you get things like that and stuff. Loads of questions. So looking forward to having a guest, and we'll be back late. We'll keep in touch with what's going on with our lives, because we've got a number of guests we've got planned, haven't we, Claire? And we've got more enrichment conversations to have. So
there's lots of different types of enrichment that we haven't even touched the surface on, and it's a massive topic. So we'll be back later in the year with more on that. So just keep an eye on our socials, and we'll keep you up to date with what's coming. If you have got any questions in the meantime, please either reach out to myself or Sarah. I'm more than happy to help. But thank you for your questions. Thank you for getting in touch, and lovely to see you, Sarah. And I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.